We would like to take a minute to let you know about our sponsors that help bring our content to your listening ears week after week. Hog Glue and Hog Tabs, found at AnsonPDR.com. Magnatech Mat, Mobile Tech RX. Edgy Tools, the king of PDR accessories and trinkets, where you get 15% off by using PDR TT15 on all Edgy branded tools. CBDDirectOils.com. It's not marijuana, kids. It's CBD, the all-natural alternative to help with your aches and pains. Get your life back using promo code PDRTT, where you get 10% off. For more information on our sponsors, visit PDRTooltime.com. And now for our show.
Welcome to another episode of PDR Tool Time. This is episode 176. How you gentlemen doing? Daddy's back in town.
Daddy, who are you, Daddy?
I listened to you.
I promised I was good.
Yeah, you watered down my vodka. God dang it.
You betcha.
It was smearing off. Nobody even notices.
And
we're gonna launch into another great show talking about tools. God, I love tools, man. Just this industry is so freaking amazing.
It is.
I just love it.
And we've got so many tools. We're spoiled with them.
Oh God, yeah. I got it. I might have mentioned this before, but I had a tech that I haven't talked to in a long time. He came by my shop and he was just geeking out over all the stuff that I had, and he had no idea, not plugged in. And you know what, guys, if you could do us all a favor and adopt a tech in your local area and get them to listen to our podcast, get them to get on Facebook, get on our Facebook page, plug them in, because the faster they get onto Mobile Tech RX, the better you're going to be off, because his prices are going to be in line with your prices, and it's not a price war anymore and everybody driving down prices.
it's funny you should say that, Daniel, because I had a gentleman come to buy a doodah at my shop about 8 months ago by the name of Paul. Paul's a local tech in my area, and he works dealerships down in Newport Beach and Irvine area and whatnot. And he came in to buy a doodah, and he's like, wait a minute, are you Vince from PDR Tool Time? I'm like, yeah. So he had no idea. He was on YouTube and saw the doodah and somehow tracked it down to my shop. I don't know how he did that, maybe through Magnatech Mat. And he comes to my shop 2 to 3 times a week now for the last 8 months. And he just geeks out on all the tools I have. And he said, basically, this is the odd thing. Dent Trainer, he's watched every single video on Dent Trainer.
Oh, nice.
Over a 6-week period, he's a 15-year tech, by the way, and he would go home from work and watch Dent Trainer all night long until he went to bed and fell asleep. So
now I met a guy. He got a hold of me and asked if we could meet up. He lives down in Denver, and he was a tech. And we were sitting down having a cup of coffee, not far from my house, and his parents still live up here close to me. And he says, I caught up on all of your webinars driving up from Denver. Played them all back to back.
Wow. Nice.
So
I need to do that. I need to watch all your webinars back to back.
Yeah, you can watch me make mistakes live.
Yeah.
We can't edit it out. No beeping.
I tend to watch your webinars. They're during the day, and I start watching them, but then, a customer comes in or something like that, and I get distracted, and I don't go back to it because it's like, oh, crap. But, your webinars are very informative as to, how to get around Mobile Tech RX and how to, all the stuff that's simply there that we don't even think about.
Yeah, and we've got so many changes and stuff coming down the line, and then there's an occasional surprise, and try not to have those. But yeah, it's nice. It's a great format to be able to keep everybody up to date as to what's going on.
Now, our goal wasn't to talk about Mobile Tech RX, but you guys had a little bit of a milestone happened recently. I think it made the
What
newspapers
was
down
that?
in Austin.
What?
And I'm not sure if you want to bring it up. We don't have to bring it up.
we can bring it up, but yeah. So our name got dropped to a company, a venture capitalist company in Austin, and they looked us up, liked what they saw, contacted us, which was highly unheard of for this company that we dealt with. They're one of the top venture capitalist firms in the U.S. Odds are good if you have a retirement account, you are invested in this company.
Nice.
That is how large they are. We started talking. They really have some good contacts around the world, and kind of worked out. So we did a Series A round of investment with them, and we're using that money to put all of our programmers all in one central location. We hired a lot more crew, moving everybody into a single office in Austin. We're basically pumped that money right back into mobile tech, and hopefully with all of our programmers, everybody in one location, we should be able to push stuff out faster.
How about a cash infusion for us for advertising? How about that? A
Put
little
us
love
all-
for me and Vince.
Put us all in the same room once a week. There you go.
Yeah, but everybody.
Yeah, on the private jet.
Yeah.
I'm kind of looking forward to that. Right now, we've got guys in an office here and there and there, and it's going to be great to have everybody into one. Right now, we're looking at 2,200 square feet of office space and just filling it with Mobile Tech RX employees.
You guys are going to be like Snapchat. You go to Venice Beach, or back in the day, Snapchat moved to Santa Monica, but they were just on the beach and like in this office on the beach. And then they bought the office next to it and grew and grew.
Wow.
And now they're in a huge facility in Santa Monica.
I don't know.
On the beach.
What's
I
that?
don't know if we'll ever get that big, but it'll be nice to have all of our programmers all on one level. We'll keep our San Antonio office where the tech support guys are, because they're plugged in, and that's some awesome office space. And those guys are on the 8th floor, so they ain't giving up that view over the Riverwalk for nothing.
Sure. Now you're not moving down to Texas, are you? That's not.
No, I'll keep doing everything from right here in this little office here at my house in South Dakota, but all of our employees, the rest, the sales team, the new marketing team, all of the programmers, and we put on quite a few of those. They're all going to be in that office down in Austin now.
That's awesome. Man.
Very cool. That's such good news for you guys. I'm happy for you guys. You guys, you're wonderful, and all you guys deserve it. You work very hard, and you've produced a great product that makes everyone money.
A ton. So
Yes.
thanks.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Appreciate
All right.
it.
So Daniel, what are we doing today? We're going to talk to someone, aren't we?
We're gonna we're gonna call a tech.
Okay.
Who are we gonna call?
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah. We're gonna call Hayes Freeman. Hayes Freeman is got the Ratchet
Hatchet.
and the pivots. The pivot. What are they called? Pivot
tips.
Pivot tips.
pivot tips. Yeah.
And what's his website?
His
John?
website is dingspdrtools.com.
Now, most of you guys that have been around for a long time, you know what? Let's call him first, because I have a series of questions to ask him. So let's.
He's got some good stuff coming too. So we got to break that news.
It's my understanding that Hayes is on the road right now. So let's see if we could catch him on his phone. He's got a long journey ahead of him. So let's see how our new technology is going to work here.
This pre's not in the middle of rural Kansas.
Yeah. Let's hope that he answers the phone. We had good success last week, John.
Hello.
Hello, is this Hayes?
Oh.
Hello.
Hey.
Hayes, what's up, dude?
We've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Finally, I've been waiting for someone to call me and deal with that thing. How is my Bluetooth sound? Because I could switch off to my phone if it's not great.
You sound perfectly fine. In fact, we're recording right now.
Yeah, you're coming in.
Oh,
great.
fantastic!
Yeah, you sound perfect on our board, and everything's good.
Wonderful. I paused a 3-mile run So for a couple moments, I'll still be breathing a little heavy, and then I'll be breathing normally.
We were under the impression that you were on the road, driving down the road.
Yeah.
Well, no, I got home just a little bit ago. We've gone for 2 days, and so I showed up like 45 minutes ago, and now I'm kind of I left the house because I needed to be able to have a good conversation with you guys. I've got 5 kids at home, and constant interruptions at the house.
Okay.
So
Well, that explains it, because my next set of questions was, why in God's name would you run, man?
He's
I try to run 5 or 6 days a week, but also this was just a way to get a quick escape so we can have a quiet conversation where you guys don't hear questions about the cat or tomorrow's trip to the beach. So,
well, I appreciate you moving someplace more romantic so that
yes,
it was nice and quiet.
Exactly.
And we could be much closer together.
Yes. Well, thank you for including me, guys.
Yeah. Well, hey, Hayes,
I'm excited about this.
I got some questions for you right off the bat, because for years, I've known about you for years, even before you started making tools and stuff like that. And I think anyone that has been in this industry for a while, the first sight of you was with popcorn in the fender of a car.
Yes.
Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's right. I have a secret desire to become a stand-up comedian. I think I have a decent sense of humor. A lot of guys think that there is no humor in that, and I've gotten some death stares over the years, and a screw you under the breath, and I think the jury might still be out on the general take on my videos from the perspective of dent guys, and I can understand that.
I loved it. I even referred some of the general public to it that were going to be nuisance customers, and I'm like, here, I'm just going to show you the secrets.
No joke. I've had 2 customers say that asking me if I'm going to use giant magnets, and they got that idea from your YouTube videos.
I can only imagine if we could stack up all the questions that came from customers towards Dent Guys. I think it would be pretty tall, because I have been asked some ridiculous questions. I've actually had emails and even phone calls from around the world asking where I can buy those magnets.
Yeah.
I have fixed dents, and when I finished the job, I had customers say to me multiple times, I actually thought you were going to use popcorn.
Yeah.
So the bike pump gets a lot of, dent guys like to say to me, what color tape did I say? I already forgot. The red tape, tape. That's the red duct tape. And, I did that because I thought those were hilarious, and that's all that matters to me sometimes is like, you know what, if I think it's funny, it really doesn't matter. I have to tone that down occasionally, trying to grow up a little bit, but I had a blast doing those, and I still have and by the way, to me personally, my favorite is the magnet. I still laugh out loud when I see myself carry out that Wile E. Coyote gigantic magnet.
Paper magnet.
And it was actually foam board from Home Depot with aluminum foil on the bottom as the silver part. And I still have a really good idea for like a 4th one that will require me actually spending a little money on special effects, and I want to do it at some point.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Hayes, did you do the one with the prostitute taking the dent out?
I did not do that. I don't even think I've ever seen it.
That might have been on a channel I'm
going to say that's a different channel.
Yeah.
And maybe after we stop recording, you can share that web address.
Right. No, mine are all family friendly, I think. So.
That's
okay.
Just checking. We applaud that. So just quickly, for the people that have never seen it, what are they titled so they could go back and see it?
If you Google or YouTube, fixing dents with popcorn, fixing dents with magnets, fixing dents with a bike pump,
it'll come
or
up.
just put in Hayes Freeman, Hayes Freeman into YouTube. You'll find it either of those ways.
We'll put up some links.
I
got you right here doing some popcorn here.
So that's good. Okay.
Interestingly, guys, just real quick, just 2 side notes. I mean, I've been paid in 2 ways from those videos. I kind of jumped on board when they offered me, 5 or 10 years ago to monetize those. And I just, hey, why not? I always try everything. So for years, I got checks in the mail occasionally from Google for starters. I think I have up to 2 or 3 million views on those videos, and those would $100 check would come in the mail here and there. And that was fun just to fool around with that. And then secondly, those videos created a ton of real calls from people all over Atlanta. I think they knew the geo kind of thing on them, and they show up a lot for Atlanta searches. And it taught me on accident the value of those videos as commercials. So I made a lot more just other serious ones that were just simple, very unrehearsed, horrible commercials that people liked the realness of them, and they just call me, and I've made tens of thousands of dollars from free YouTube advertisements
and hundreds of dollars from monetizing.
Hundreds for sure, into the low 2,000 or 3,000s at the most. Yeah, hundreds of dollars from monetize, and that's just me enjoying trying everything once and seeing what I like to do to repeat. And I never leaned into trying to. In fact, I fell off. I'm currently don't have enough subscribers or something, and they quit on me. And I said, I don't really care. That's not where the direction I'm headed.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So. No, that's good. That's good to know, because a lot of people don't know about monetizing, and I don't know. I don't get any checks. I know Toledo gets or used to get checks. I'm not sure if he still does, but people think, oh man, if it goes viral, it takes a lot of clicks for a big check to be coming your way.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, Hayes, we want to get into some of the tools that you've been making. So you made a big splash this year at MTE, coming out with the Ratchet Hatchet. And I grabbed onto that first thing. I was like, wow, yeah, I'm digging this. I like it. I think I was one of the first ones to grab it and start showing everybody, hey, check this thing out. And
you were, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
And still use it today. It's fantastic. Great hammer, out of the box idea. So that the idea of the hammer is the head's pivot, so it matches the angle of the panel, which is fantastic. You can change the tips. The other part that I really like is you designed a foam handle, which was I don't even know what shape you would call that.
It's an oval-ish. It's ovalish.
Yeah,
but it's oblong. Go ahead.
It forces your hand to directionally stay in line with the dent, is what I liked about it. And in fact, I bought a bunch of those foam handles from you, and I put them on all my other hammers. So I modified every single one of my hammers with that on there, and then in fact, you even a custom one of your ratchet hatchets with the ball on the end of it, which I love, and I've got the only one in the whole world, I think. Maybe
you do the Grom ratchet hatchet. That's right.
Yep. And then you also came out with the pivot tips, which I think took everybody by surprise, and how fantastic those are. How's the hammer selling for you right now?
Yeah. So the hammer, I knew months and months ago that the hammer was going to be surpassed by the pivot tips in sales. The market for hammers, there's a lot of hammers, and guys, plenty of tool guys already have 10 somewhere hidden around their cart or their truck or their garage. And, I kind of saw the writing on the wall mostly when I decided, okay, as long as I'm coming to MTE, I'm going to push forward with the pivot tips. It was really the Ratchet Hatchet that pushed me to go to MTE, and thank you, Gene Fetty. Now I've said that in front of everybody. He was one of my biggest guys pushing me and saying, hey, go do this. And his encouragement was a big part of me pushing through. But I mean, in some ways I look back and go, I feel like the Ratchet Hatchet was the tool that pushed me forward to come to the market as a tool guy, but I don't think it'll be by any means the biggest thing I ever do. I think it might be the smallest thing I ever do. It is very niche. I mean, you gotta say to yourself, man, I've got 5 or 3 or whatever hammers, and I'd really like to be able to just, change the angle on it as as helpful as I think that is, I can understand guys going, I'm not going to buy another hammer. The pivot tips, on the other hand, there's more and more ball tipped tools. The R4 started it all, I think I can say safely. Tell me if that's not the way you guys see that. But the R4, so the R4 started a trend, and I consider ball tips now as real estate. And currently, before the pivot tip, the cherry tip was the only thing sitting on that real estate. And now pivot tips are another option to put onto the real estate of ball tip tools. And now more and more companies are coming out with that real estate. They're on twist tools. They're on rods. They're on, we've always had them on the interchangeable tools. But to be honest, guys, both things I'm trying to solve, they're actually quite similar. It's the angle that your blending tip is facing, and then on the bottom of the panel, it's the same solution. I'm creating the best angle on the bottom of the panel. So we're, with both striking and pushing, we're keeping our surfaces flat. And but both of those two issues, what's really interesting is that from the very first day I picked up a PDR tool, and a couple weeks in, somebody asks me to fix something that for the time to me was large. I was looking at that going, why would I be pushing this large dent with this tiny little sharp tool, which it wasn't actually super sharp, but that was before I ever had an interchangeable tip tool with an M98 mushroom or a nice 1-inch rubber ball. And I was in search of ways to widen my pushes from the very beginning. And the pivot tips have, literally like just first weeks of PDR, this is finally the solution that I felt like was worth bringing to the market because it made such a significant difference. And the same thing happened with a blending hammer. The first time I started using blending hammer, I was like, wow, I like these flat heads, but darn it, like the way I like to swing this, I kind of have to move my hand around. And so I ended up solving problems that were in my mind, really from the very beginning. But the pivot tips took, 16 years to crystallize on the approach. And there's guys out there that have received from me prototypes 2, 3, 4 years ago, different ideas that I was trying to figure out the right way to solve that issue of being able to provide a commonly usable pivoting, flat surface tip that would help guys get a big fat push onto tools that they already have. And the ball joint are for Corey Pope, in the A1 catalog, those ball tip tools. TDN had brought out some ball tip stuff this year. That made it really the obvious choice to use the BB tip as the platform for the pivot tip.
Well, prior to that, we just had the chair rail tips. That we would go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy the chair rail tips and put those on, or put some tape on it and stuff like that. And
or I would put something on the backside between the tip and the panel so you could broaden that push and try to move that large amount of metal.
Well, back in my day, we would take a golf ball and a drill bit and drill a hole in the golf ball and put it on our tip.
But here's the thing, not to discount your hammer, because I like your hammer. At first, when I first saw it at MT last year, I'm like, oh great, another hammer. Yeah. But then I saw the pivoting tips on it, and my first concern was, as you hit that's just going to loosen and it's going to flop around and it's not going to be effective after a while. And Daniel had sent me one about 4 or 5 months ago now. And I've not had that issue at all. It's rock solid. I haven't had to tighten it down or anything. And what I noticed, it's like it's a natural. It naturally goes to the position that you're hitting it. Even if you're off a little, it kind of self-adjusts to where you're at, and then you're just rocking away on the rail, and everything's good.
Yeah. Well, I will never ever say that we have too many hammers in our industry after going to a hammer museum. We haven't even scratched
yes, I heard you talking about that. Yes.
Yeah. There's room for 2,000 or 3,000 more.
That actually is the truth. And I didn't mean to downplay hammers. Here I am selling one. I was really referring to why I'm going to sell a lot more pivot tips than hammers in the big picture. But
Sure.
absolutely, there's room for lots more hammers. And I do really believe in the unique innovation that I brought, with the Ratchet Hatchet.
Even with the Ratchet Hatchet, I think it's one of those that you have to get in your hands. Seeing it on the picture, on the internet or by pictures, it's like, well, that's cool, but I don't 100% completely understand it. But once you get it in your hands and know the quality that's behind it, it makes sense. It's like, okay, so, by having it at MTE or at Anson or wherever else where people could walk in and actually touch it, or on the tool vans that are out there, not just Anson, but other ones, I think you'll be okay with it. You might not sell as many pivot tips because pivot tips are consumables. They're going to.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah. They're consumable, and everybody's got a ball tip tool in their tool set. And correct. And by the way, no, actually, let me tell you this. I have evidence about that. I was talking with people, at MTE specifically about that. And you guys might be surprised by this. There's a lot of variation amongst a lot of different people's approaches, and some guys have this, some guys have that. But I would say the R4 with a Dentcraft cherry tip on it might be one of the most unifying things that is out there. I mean, I'm talking like one dent guy that I asked, speaking to hundreds of guys, was like, "No, I don't have that. I don't have a R4 tip with cherry tips on it." And I'm thinking to myself,
really?
Man, yeah, how's that possible? So
I got like 5 of them.
There's ultra guys, and there's, I love my Dentcraft whale tie. I love my, people are into different things. I mean, I've always been an A1 rod guy for some reason, but it seems like that cherry tip is almost universal.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
So,
well, you can buy them by the gross, snap them on that tip, and even on some of the sharper, like I have even thrown them on, say, not the R4 ball tip, but some of Dentcraft's dull or flatter tips, and set it on that in an emergency to get a softer push out of it. So, I mean, just having a little baggie of the bubblegum bag of cherry caps, man, that help.
The other thing too with with your pivot tips too that I want people to realize, it's not just for pushing. I knock down crowns with them all the time. I have them on my.
This is an amazing surprise to me. Probably I bet you that there's other tool guys that would go, "Hayes, yep, I had the same experience. Guys did stuff with my tool that I never imagined."
Yeah,
and that's just that's wonderful that that's happening. But
it's always a little awkward to say the first time.
Sure. So that's great. What makes it even a little bit more ironic is the fact that I'm selling a hammer whose goal is to accomplish that very same sort of thing that the pivot tip would do as a blending. I mean, it would kind of fall into flat with every strike. A pivot tip on a blending hammer should kind of fall to flat. And the goal of my hammer was to already solve that problem. But man, there are 1,000 ways to skin a cat. And I mean, you'll learn that if you put a tool as a prototype into 10 guys' hands, you'll get 10 different feedbacks, and you have to kind of learn to amalgamize that and pick out the best threads and the repetition. But you have to end up making your own decisions is one of the things you realize you have to do. You can't take everybody's advice.
Yeah.
All right. So guys, just to reiterate one more time too, it's dingspdrtools.com, and that's where you can find the Ratchet Hatchet and the pivot tips. And now the pivot tips are sold in bags of 10. And now you got new sizes and shapes coming in 2019. You got 6 months left there, brother.
Yeah.
You okay there, boss?
Okay. That was not on my side. So yes, those, anytime you're producing something and having to get things really precise, it takes time. I hoped we'd have pivot tips, the new revised 2.0 pivot tips and new shapes out by now, but I'd say maybe 6 or 8 weeks from now, we will have four new sizes, or a total of 4 sizes, including a crease pushing pivot tip. And each size of pivot tip is going to come in 2 faces, in the same way that you can get Dentcraft's M series big mushroom heads in a totally flat or a domed. I've created the pivot tips in 2 faces, because you'd be surprised how different those 2 push.
What are those going to
totally?
Hey, so what are those going to go on? They're not going to go on an R4, right? They're going to go on something bigger, correct?
Oh, no. Those are going on R4s. No, this line, there's a second line, which, since you asked, I'll just tell you that an XL series of pivot tips is coming out. I
thought that's what you were talking about. Sorry.
Nope, I'm sorry. No, this is the standard 4 sizes up to almost a 1.25 inch, similar to the mushroom, the large mushroom I mentioned from Dentcraft.
Yeah.
The standard series that goes on the R4 is going to come in 4 sizes and shapes. In maybe 6 months or something from now, I will bring out the XL series. They will pop onto a significantly bigger ball, and these suckers are going to be massive metal pushers that dwarf the current pivot tip. The guys that have these in hand right now, testing my prototypes, have given me a lot of good feedback. I mean, these are well, I think of them as fantastic pressure holders. Also, if you want to put some pressure on while you blend down crowns. I don't know if you guys.
I have a good story about doing that.
Love with that
very tactic.
Oh yeah.
I'm probably more excited about that design more than anything, because that's all I do all day.
Yeah.
So remember, when it comes to hearing what Hayes has got coming out, you heard it here first, because Vince spilled the beans
on accident. I could always edit that out.
I haven't heard anything that needing editing up to this point.
Okay, good.
Other than maybe the unfamily friendly dent repair video earlier. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. So yeah, excited to release those in the near future, and they're just. You just take the whole concept and put it on steroids, and the industry has changed in one direction consistently. We are fixing bigger and bigger damage, and
absolutely,
there's significant room for us having pushing pads. Like I think of the XLs as these massive pushing pads where we can put enormous amounts of pressure on and not create the high spots that we're used to creating with a little 1-inch rubber ball, where we're trying to maybe hold pressure or push a lot of meat with a little 1-inch ball. I mean, these are not even in the same category of metal moving from what we've been using.
I feel like that's the biggest challenge right now is, we're going after this big damage, but can we cut down the time? Because we've done that in hail, we've done that in glue. Other areas, and now glue. Now we're really going after these big dents, trying to cut that time that we're spending on doing that.
Yes.
And the biggest part is just pulling the meat out of a dent, because once you
moving large amounts of metal.
Once you move that large amount, then you can see where the real damage is, what you're really attacking. And that's what I'm all about. So,
Agreed. I want to make a quick, you just reminded me of something. I don't know how you reminded me, but I just want to mention another surprise for me about the current standard line of pivot tips is how much good feedback I have had from hail techs, because I invented and created pivot tips completely with large damage in mind. But what guys like Ray Sapnew, who's one of my biggest hail tech fans of pivot tips, say is the standard current size of pivot tip on an R4, maybe on a rod while you're fixing a roof. What they're finding is they're flying through those kind of softer, soft nickels and quarters that might be, a
little bit larger stuff.
They don't have that hard bottom to them.
No, well, stuff that's light nickels and stuff that might be, 5 or 8 pushes with a cherry tip on it turns into like 2 pushes with a pivot tip. Like you're just you're
Interesting.
The dents that don't need that,
Ro-
not that super sharp, hard hail.
Right.
Leave that
Exactly.
that
Soft
line
hail.
at the bottom of it. Yeah, the soft hail.
Yes.
I can see how that would fly through that hail like that, and give you killer control.
And for the door dingers, it works just as well for holding pressure. I use it out as an off dolly technique. You know, if I have something sharp, it's softer than a dolly, a metal dolly. I'll put that behind there and use my Craftsman hammer on the outside and get that sharpness out without creating any pits or cracking any paint.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been excited with all of the feedback. I mean, some of it's come as a surprise, but it's all been encouraging, and I think I'm really, truly onto something significantly helpful. So,
I look forward to seeing what you have kind of rolling down the pipeline, and as they start getting some of those bigger ones out.
Yeah, well, I've already got your guys's prototypes made on my workbench, so you'll get the prototypes, in the near future here.
Oh,
so you'll be seeing those soon.
Very sweet.
Nice.
Daniel's muted himself. He needs to hit his button on the bottom left-hand corner for some reason. He's talking. His mouth is flapping.
I don't know how I did that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
His mouth is flapping, but nothing's coming out.
Grandpa got his butt whooped on the computer again.
Showing his age.
We really appreciate you coming on. We got to move on to some other topics. And but we will get back to you and get more info when you have more to talk about.
Yeah. Please let us know. And we'll get you back on here.
I want to tease you with an idea. I'd love to talk, have another conversation whenever you guys are ready about, I would love to tell my story of how kind of I went from literally ground zero to, having tools on the market, because there's a really neat story and the way I used new technology. And there's just so much more access to making this stuff doable that I think would help and encourage other guys.
We will. In fact, we have a show planned in the future here talking about, how to get something from nothing to market. So
that's a perfect teaser.
I just walked that path.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'd love to be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. We'll have you back on here.
Okay.
You're always welcome here.
Yep, just let us know.
Perfect.
And,
Thank you.
Get back to your kids and get back to your run and get in shape.
Now,
or walk briskly. I'm a huge fan of that.
I already walked. I walked home, so I'm walking in the door this moment. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I really enjoyed.
Now, one last. I have a tech tip for you because I guess you have a new phone number. And I have Truecaller, which shows who I'm calling and stuff like that. Yeah. And according to Truecaller, your name is Carlos Iglesias. So you might want to.
That's not good. I've never had.
Why is not good? Why wouldn't you want to be Carlos?
Didn't Carlos Iglesias have a big musical hit in the 80s or something?
That's Enrique Iglesias, right?
Yeah. If we get a change in Washington, you might need that alias. So I would.
You might have to
hang tight to
You might have to switch your beard to Dos Equis.
Yes.
Well, you're the first person to tell me that, so I'm going to look into the technical way to get that switched over. I don't want that showing up on my caller ID.
No,
thank you very much.
You got it. All right. Well, Hayes, thank you so much for hanging out with us for a little bit here, and we'll definitely get you on in the future here and hear about all your great stories.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Daniel.
All right.
Take care, Hayes.
Talk to you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye now. All right. Well, that was Hayes Freeman. That was awesome. He's a very interesting guy. He's got some great ideas.
Yeah. He's a mad scientist.
The mad scientist. So,
and we'll put some links in the notes there on the show notes. And I went and found all those videos while Hayes was sharing with us. So we'll make sure and throw those up so you can all have the fun and enjoyment of watching them.
Well, and Daniel, while we're talking, why don't you go ahead and type in one of the phone numbers of the callers that we're going to call right now. We're gonna blind call someone. We had such good luck, myself and John, last week. It
went great.
Getting a hold of everyone that answered the phone, and we want to thank each and every one of you guys that answered and put up with us for a few minutes. I felt bad for Clifton. We really caught him off guard.
We did, because everybody else was kind of winding down, but Clifton was buried in the middle of that quarter panel on that Mustang.
Yeah,
so
he was like a deer in headlights, and no pun intended for the hunter.
Yeah, but thanks a lot, Clifton, for answering the phone and being a good sport and talking with us for a little while about that, especially with what you were doing. It's great to for other techs to really hear what is actually being used in the field. You're in there glue pulling and out there in the field doing stuff late at night. What's working, what's not. So it was actually kind of a pretty cool impromptu glue pulling coast to coast. What are you using?
Yeah, it was good. We found out the glues and the tabs and different conditions. I was really surprised to see how many people or technicians were working that late into the night. But that is part of the hail trail. You work, it's hail season. You're working 6 days a week, maybe 7, half days on Sundays, maybe. That's the life of a hail technician for all our listeners out there.
Days of the week mean nothing. So it's all about the work, and you live for the work. So,
hey, Daniel, how about an area code with that number that I'm supposed to call? Come on, dude. You're killing me, Smalls. For crying out loud. As my Irish mother used to say, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
We can just randomly pick and see who answers the phone.
Well,
remember, if it goes south, we're always just there for their extended warranty anyway.
Yes. Okay. So. And I think what we'll do is if Daniel ever gets me a friggin' area code to call Mr. Jerry McCarty here. I don't know who Jerry McCarty is, so I'll have Daniel do it. Okay. 631. He's in Chicago. 630 is Chicago. Let's see. So, okay. You ready? Let's see if Mr. Jerry answers. Oh, Jerry's in New York, dude.
Hello.
Hey, is this Jerry?
This is.
Hey, Jerry, how you doing?
Good.
Well, we just wanted to give you a call and see how everything was going out there.
Hey, Jerry, this is Daniel Grom. How are you doing?
What's up, Dan? What's going on, dude?
So I had my thing muted again. Sorry.
Oh, I got you. I saw the California number, so I assumed that it might be, but how's it going out there?
Congratulations. You're live on PDR Tool Time right now.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I follow it. I wouldn't say I watch every week, but I'm a fan of the show.
Well, Jerry, this is Vince. That's my number that I called you from. And Daniel was supposed to start talking right away, but he had his mic muted. So
I had to come up with something. And I knew you would hang up if I asked you about your college loan. So.
Oh, no. Yeah. If you want to hear a 5-year-old run around, that's kind of what we got going on right now. But how about yourself? How you guys doing?
We're doing good, man. We've got a new system. We're able to call guys and record them and put them on the show and put them on the hotspot. And so I decided to call you because I haven't talked to you in a while. And I love seeing your posts. So one of the things about Jerry is when you see this guy, he's always got a smile on his face. And he always makes you feel welcome. And then he's got that New York accent, and you gotta love a guy with a New York accent. So
yeah, you can't get away from that. It's funny because obviously I see you guys down there every year down the MTE, which I'm a big fan of, and we catch up. And my first MTE, I met you, Dan, with Tom Price and a few other people that were sitting down there. And just over the years, everybody I've met over the years and friendships I've developed have been, so cool and so, so valuable, really, in this industry.
So let's dive into first of all, how long have you been pushing dents?
Pushing dents since 94. I started when I was 28. I got talked into working for a guy that just bought a Dent Wizard franchise.
actually had it for a couple of years. So anyway, started pushing. I went out to St. Louis spring of '94.
So are you an ex-dent wizard?
Yep, ex-dent wizard. Yep, I started with them. I actually worked for them for 2 years, and then I was in Pennsylvania, and then I pulled some strings. I was pretty good friends with my boss, who was a franchise owner, and I wanted to get on the other side of it where he was. And long story short, I was able to buy a territory in Long Island, New York, 2 years later.
Nice. And then did they buy it back from you, or are you still part of Dent Wizard?
No, they bought it. Yeah, so I bought it in I bought it in '96. I moved up here by myself, and I was a tech, 2 years on my belt, and started hitting the pavement and started building the business, and built it up 5 years later. In '01, they bought it back off of me.
Nice. Now, was that by choice? How does that work? Is it just a strong arm deal? Or is it?
You know what? It was by choice. It wasn't a lot of story. You know, I had a lot of guidance from my old friend of mine that owned a franchise. He was the first franchisee owner to sell. So he helped me a lot, because he had gone through it a couple years earlier. And, they threw a number out there and kind of wanted to see what you're willing to go for. And, back and forth a couple of times. But I didn't feel I was really strong arm. They try to get a few things in the deal stipulated, to probably hedge their investment a little bit. But
sure.
They were relatively fair.
That's good. That's good to know. I'm an ex-dent wizard too, as you know. You might not know. But
I didn't know that. But okay, huh? Yeah. Now, Vince, when were you out there?
I was there. January '95 is when I went to school, and I was out by March, and immediately got hit with the hailstorm in Chicago and hit the ground running.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now you're independent, right, Jerry?
Yes. So when I sold, I had I had 10 techs working for me and a salesman, and when I sold in 2001, and then, I worked for them for 3 years, who wanted me to manage the business, be the face of the business, which I understood. And I realized after those 3 years, it was going to be, parting ways, and for the most part. But in the interim, and this is not super surprising to some people, and, myself included, corporate America, but in the course of 3 years, they lost all but two of my technicians.
Sure.
Within the last six months of me managing, before I left, before my time was up, 9 of my guys.
Man, you must have been a mean manager, dude.
Yeah, right.
They all split and went on their own.
And I was friends with these guys, and it was kind of like nothing against you. And I didn't take it that way personally at all, but there wasn't a lot of dialogue with Dent Wizard when all this was going on. But a lot of it was, there was nothing wrong. Like I said, I had friendships. I'm still friends with some of the guys now, but it was the corporate kind of mentality of micromanaging and taking things away and making things like, they were trying to pay people the same salary plans they're paying people in Missouri and stuff. And it's expensive to live here.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was out of Chicago. I was a corporate employee, so I had different pay than any franchisees and stuff like that. But, it's funny how things come full circle because, I'm doing business with Dent Wizard again, through the IMI stuff. So, so it's interesting, in fact, I'm getting on a plane tomorrow and heading out there to Missouri.
And tell you what, I've never had ill feelings for them at all. Like I said, when it was all going on, like I said, the micromanaging and the forecasting, the way, that really wasn't mine. Like if a guy, missed his, bonus, the next commission grade higher by, a few $100 in a month, I would just pay him being the, franchise owner myself.
Yeah.
But, when it came to Dent Wizard, if you hit that number, you're not getting that pay. So little things like that, it's much easier to run a business when you're smaller,
sure.
I believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's cool. Let me ask you, what's the state of your business now? What, do you work by yourself? Have guys working for you?
I have one guy. Well, it's funny because I took some time off and, I was luckily got into real estate. I've developed some properties and stuff. I always kind of kept my, foot and finger in the business around here, but when I didn't work it really, seriously, I wouldn't say seriously, but full time up until, probably about 10 years ago, maybe about 8 years ago. And anyway, so I have one guy that I sub to right now. I trained somebody about 2 years ago and he didn't work out. And, I go back and forth about, training more people, but, certainly have a good amount of work around here, plus relationships and stuff like that. So, I go back and forth, but really, one guy that I subbed to, another guy towards the city, I subbed some stuff to him, and then I pretty much pushed myself.
It's kind of funny, Jerry, as we get older in this industry, and maybe just older in general, how it gets harder to train people. It's like, oh man, do I really want to go and do that and train someone for them to leave? I don't know. Sometimes I get a little bit jaded, and I don't know if it's my age or, even though I love this industry and I love talking tools and talking things, but when it comes to like training a new technician, it's like, oh man,
Vince, that's good, but I kind of feel the same way. I think certainly, but you got to find that right person. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
that's easier said than done. And I look back on things, and having people working for me, I've been down that road before. It's certainly more responsibility. It's certainly more headaches. It's babysitting. I always equate it was like having 11 girlfriends at once.
yeah,
and you just got to realize what you're getting into. But then again, I look at what I've been doing over the past, 10 years or so, and it's nice kind of working for yourself and, making decent money and coming home and not have to worry about anything else, but
yeah,
I'm 53 now, and it's like, I might as well, I'm going to do this forever, but, nice to expand and have people, work for you going forward is probably the best thing to do.
Yeah.
So let me get into tools with you, Jerry. What new tools are you using that are making a huge difference in your dent world?
Well, the sharp tips have just made a huge difference, with the high strength steel. And, I think I've really catered towards some PDR finesse tools that 226, that, left and right. Door tool. I got that a couple of years ago. I got that down at MTE, and that was the first game changer. So I got some Mark Circus. I got some of his sharp tips.
Love those.
Yep. And then I got some of Dave Stream's sharp tips. I use those as far as that goes. I just got the other day was Anson makes those edge pliers. Kind of like the modified edge jack with a handle and
edge pliers.
Yeah,
man, that's a friggin' so many little things. I'm like, I got to get that, but I think that's been a nice little addition I've gotten recently. Even the lighting and stuff like that. I'm a Carl Stuckey guy, and I just like the lenses and stuff like that. They've just getting so much more clarity to them.
Oh, compared to what we had years ago, come on. It's like night and day.
Now, do you use Carl's little light, or do you have his full-size light?
I have the 18-incher. I have the 12-inchers, which I kind of like those original ones. I'm a fog guy. But I've been using the 18-inch with the BATFAC on it right now, and what do you call it? It seems to work pretty well. I'll switch the lenses every now and then too. I have a yellow one that sometimes I use.
Yes. I still use my yellow, man. I still use my yellow. Huh? Yeah, every day.
I haven't used one in a long time.
I love the contrast. I think the contrast is better with yellow than white.
Well, it was funny when Dent was doing Vince. You could probably kind of identify with this. I remember Dent was you learn with that yellow one, and you had the light that you kind of snapped behind it and you used it that way. And then suppose when you got good 8 weeks after Dent Wizard, you didn't need the light behind it anymore. So then you're outside with the yellow shade. And then when you got a little bit better, you got the white, board with the black line, and that's sort of like it seemed like that was a stepping stone for, at least I think people thought, at least the people I worked around at Dent Wizard,
Yeah, oh sure.
And that was for the longest time. I used that, that whiteboard outside, inside, never used a light with it. And then I guess about 5-6 years ago, going down to MTE again and learning that, guess what, a light board, and now with, Mobile Tech shade with it, I mean, it gives you the best clarity you could possibly imagine.
Oh yeah, and oddly enough, I still use Carl Stuckey makes a reflection board with fog, and I just use it today. I had my James Lee light out, and the sun was just starting to come out, and it was a foggy day, and I couldn't see anything with my James Lee light, and I pulled out my fog board from Carl Stuckey with my BATFAC on it, and bam, got it done.
It's weird how sometimes the lighting just catches it the right way, right? But I feel the same way. And I've turned guys on around here. I have a lot of good friends that are techs in this area, and I'm still friends with. And I try to light them as much as possible. My one buddy Mike, and he's like, "Hey, you always told me about using a light board," and he started using it, I guess, a couple of years ago. He's like, "Man, it makes a difference," And I'm like, "Yeah, it does."
Absolutely. Yeah.
But-
Well, look, Jerry, I know we're calling you at 10 o'clock at night on the East Coast.
That's cool.
We'll have to pay attention to who we're calling.
It's okay.
You're 3 hours ahead of us on the left coast. So we don't want to keep you too long. And
That's fine.
We appreciate you coming on. Daniel's got.
And Jerry, I owe you a drink when we get to.
Yeah, we always go back and forth drinks a little bit.
Are you going? Are you going to come to California for MTE
Or
Experience
Vegas?
a little West Coast
Vegas.
love?
You know,
Las Vegas.
September's so nice around here, and the boat and everything else. And I'm busy too then, but no, you know what? I'm not. I just get
Okay.
It's still summertime.
Well, that starts
here in New
getting
York
through
in
your
September.
acorn season out there, isn't it?
Well, now that's more like about October, November. To be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
Do you really get a lot of damage from acorns?
A fair amount. It's nothing like hail, but
Yeah.
I do a few cars a year. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Oh,
You
interesting.
mark it up an extra 25% too, because acorns are sharper on one end.
Sharp.
So.
Yep.
Well, oddly
Yeah,
enough,
thank you.
during our season down here is like the windy season. We deal with palm fronds landing on cars from
Really?
palm trees.
Huh.
Yep.
I get pine cones.
You get pine cones up by you, Daniel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But they don't do damage like hail or acorns, though, do they?
No, they make.
Pine cones do. Pine cones.
Yeah,
do.
Pine
a
cones
green
do, yeah.
pine cone will leave a heck of a dent. Yeah.
Oh no, they stretch it.
Yep.
It's,
Yeah, they
it's
will.
like
Really?
a golf ball, isn't it?
Yeah.
Huh.
And palm
That
fronds
would-
look like a serrated knife falling on it, but it's usually like 3 or 4, and it's a crease. So yeah,
And you can tell right away what it's from.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Jerry,
Hey.
thanks for coming on the show, and we really appreciate you.
No, but it was funny. You sent me a message the other day. I'm like, oh, what to talk about? I always like talking to Dan, but
Yeah.
what do you call it? And just
Yeah,
a little
we're
trivia
surprised.
for people who didn't know, not to shout out to my home state here in New York, but, as far as technician-wise, Paul Corden is originally from New York. Bryce Kelly is originally from Long Island, New York. And Ivan, how do you pronounce his last name? Sherlock. He's won the, the contest down at MTE twice in the past 5
The
years.
Dent Olympics?
5 years.
Yeah.
Dent
Yep,
Olympics.
the Dent Olympics. Yeah, he's won it twice already. So we've got some,
Nice.
You got some
some
talent.
bread. Yeah, some PDR guys that come from this area that don't get a lot of recognition. Well, they do get a lot of recognition, but I don't think New York does.
Yeah. No, that's good, brother. That's good.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Well,
Thanks for coming on. We'll talk
Nah,
to you
thanks.
later.
Right
Yeah.
on, dude. I'll be listening to you guys, and I appreciate everything you do for the industry.
All
All
right.
right, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry.
All
Be
right,
well.
bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Take care, Vince. Take care, Dan.
See ya.
Bye.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
I didn't know who he was at first until I pulled him up on Facebook. Oh, I know Jerry.
Yeah,
Everyone
you know
knows Jerry.
Yeah,
Jerry's a
everybody knows
good
Jerry.
guy.
The guy's just got this smile that just draws you in, and just
Yeah,
he's one of those guys.
exactly.
Yep. Yep.
Well,
He
that
looks
was
like he's ready to tell you a joke, and he's
Right.
he's about to crack himself up.
I think that's a birthright when you're from New York. You kind
Yeah.
of
yeah, probably.
it's
They do tell the best jokes.
they do. They're pretty funny storytellers. So, you know what?
Are we
I
at the
think
end of the show?
we are at the end of the show. We would like to take a minute to let you know about it. Yeah, I hit the wrong button. Still learning. Sorry. Here we go.
You know what? I just want to end it because I did something I've never done before. I used my bench grinder on a motorcycle tank today. I used my bench grinder on a motorcycle tank today.
You're what?
I used my bench grinder on a motorcycle today, a motorcycle tank.
Gosh,
Oh.
I'm hitting all the wrong buttons right now.
What the hell is wrong with you?
All right, I'm sorry.
Where's my
Well,
sound effect.
on that
Supposed to
note,
have a sound- you got nobody's in on the joke because we're supposed to have sound effects.
yes. All right.
Vince
Well,
screwing it up right now.
okay. So Daniel, take us out.
All right, guys, level up your tools.
Don't do stupid stuff.
And remember to keep it stiff. Thanks for listening.